Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go over how to solve systems of equations. As a reminder, systems of equations are sets of equations that share the same variables. So, for example, the first set includes x and y. There are a pair of equations and there are a pair of variables x and y. The middle one's a pair of equations and a pair of variables p and n. And the last set is a pair of equations with the pair of variables m and n. Because we have as many equations as we have unknowns, then we're able to solve these systems of equations. We can solve systems of equations by graphing, substitution, or elimination. We're going to focus on solving them by graphing first, but bear in mind that any system of equation can be solved by all three of these methods. It's just that sometimes one method is easier than others, so we want to choose the one that's the easiest for us. So to solve a system by graphing, the steps are listed here. If our two equations are y minus x equals 1 and y plus 2x equals 4, our first step, as shown right here inside this box, is to put our equations into slope-intercept form, or y equals mx plus b form. So in order to do that with the first equation, we need to add x to both sides. And in order to do it with the second equation, we need to subtract 2x from both sides. So when we finish that, our equations change to y equals ms plus b format, and this shown here in yellow are the equations that we're going to use from now on, the form of the equation. It's the same equation, we've just rearranged it somewhat. The reason we rearranged it is so that we can pull out the y-intercept values and pull out the slope, and it makes it very easy to graph. So to graph the first line, the first equation, we see that we have a y-intercept of 1. So we'll know that this line is going to cross the y-axis right there where my cursor is. And it's going to have a slope of positive 1. So we will have a line that looks like that. For the second line, or the second equation, we're going to have a slope, or excuse me, a y-intercept of 4. So we'll come up here to 0, 4. The line will cross the y-axis here. It has a slope of -2, so it's going to drop from left to right 2 units for every 1 down. So this line is going to look something like that. So once we have them graphed, then notice that the y-intercept for the purple line, which was the top one, was 1. The y-intercept for the yellow line was 4, as shown here. Notice that the slopes are correct in that this has a negative slope and this has a positive slope. The original equations are pasted onto this graph, not the y equals ms plus b format. So once we see where these two lines intersect, the solution of these two equations is where they intersect, because at the point 1, 2, where x equals 1 and y equals 2, that value will satisfy both equations. So that becomes our solution, 1, 2. And we will always put that answer in an ordered pair solution as y, x. Excuse me, x, y. Crazy, what's wrong with me? So we will always put our solution in an ordered pair, x, y.